What better way to overcome your fears than to chase them head on? That's been my motto throughout my whole life. When I was 5, my father locked me inside a room full of spiders to show me that they were nothing to be afraid of. And it worked. After day 3, I was no longer scared of the 8-legged creatures that used to haunt my dreams. That is why I have decided to dedicate my life to helping others overcome their truest fears. The things that haunt their nightmares, waking or sleeping. After a few years of trial and error, I finally created a program that would surely help. At least, that was what it was intended for. The reality of it turned out to be much more sinister. On July 8th, 6 people signed up for my new study. They were all healthy young adults who were eager to overcome their fears, while also looking forward to the generous lump sum of money that was offered as a reward upon completion. On paper, their fears were your typical phobias. Nothing too out there. What I didn't expect was the lies that each of them told. I have kept their journals from the study, and I will now transcribe them below. Patient 1, John Holland. Day 1. I'm supposed to write in this journal for the results of some experiment put on by a psychologist. He runs this place and has this mirror that he thinks will expose me to my greatest fear. I have to say that I'm doubtful. He gave some explanation about the amygdala and the fear response in the brain, which I sort of understood from my psychology classes and random Google searches that I've done. I'm a Googler. I'm supposed to be writing down my experience with my fear of germs. I have been diagnosed with your stereotypical OCD and cleanliness obsessions fueled by extreme germophobia. My host led me to the mirror expectantly and whipped off the white cloth cover with a flourish. In the mirror, I realized on first glance how I looked like my father. A memory overlaid my vision momentarily. Spotless white floors, marred only by a spot of blood that had dripped unnoticed from my blistered hands. My father's disapproving face as he raised his belt one more time. His words echoed once more in my mind, punctuated by further blows. Words I dare not repeat that make me shrink inwardly, as I did then, as a child. A touch on my arm startled me out of my dazed state, yanking me back to the present. Are you alright, John? Do you have a journal? The question surprised me. I just told him that I hadn't had one in years. A grin split his face as he walked to a cabinet and opened a drawer with several small books. Journals. Not identical, but similar enough. He grabbed one with an uneven black cover, with scales, and he handed it to me. I decided not to ask why he would have multiple journals sitting around in a desk drawer. Write in it. I would be interested to read what your experience is. And so here I am, not feeling much different, lying on my bed, while my wife Olivia sleeps. Day 2. I didn't sleep too well last night. My dreams were much the same as my memory that had risen as I looked in the mirror. I saw my father's face once more, but it was different than I had remembered. His face was contorted, but not in anger, but in terror. What could a man so terrible be afraid of? I'll write more later. 11:08 p.m. Same day. I don't know what to say. My 6-year-old son was being hyper, and I had been plagued by a constant pressure in my head, some kind of migraine. Everything today seemed designed to piss me off. Bright lights, noise, it never seemed to end. Olivia was nitpicky. I finally hit my breaking point when Tyson wouldn't go to bed at 8 o'clock, like he should. I found myself getting more and more angry. I feel like screaming now. Tyson was being so defiant, and my anger only grew and grew, until I ended up yanking him off the couch by his feet. He hit his head on the wooden floor of our living room. I stopped when I saw blood, and he started crying. I sadly picked him up and I carried him to his room. When Olivia asked why Tyson was crying, I told her that he had slipped and hit his head. Had I really hurt my own child, my own son? I laid on the floor, feeling like retching the darkness from my soul. What was happening to me? This isn't about cleanliness at all. I had just lied to my own wife. Day 3. The guilt is overwhelming, but I can't stop myself from hurting my son when he disobeys. My wife never seems to take notice. The morning after I hurt him, he woke up and acted as if nothing had happened. When asked how he felt, he said, "I don't feel so good. I better be more careful on the hardwood. It's so easy to slip." He didn't remember a thing. I'll admit it. I have begun hurting him more to see if he'll remember. I want to get caught, to be punished for what I've done, for what I'm doing, but the consequences never seem to come. I killed a man. I was walking out at 3 p.m., trying to run away from the decay of my morals, running from the truth of my descent. I don't sleep anymore. The shame and desperation keep me awake all night. I saw a man walking, and I realized that if I was to be punished or stopped, I needed to do something more drastic. It was the only way. I took out my keys and in cold blood, I stabbed the man in the neck. I called the police to confess, and I held my bloody keys in hand until they arrived. I did it. I killed him. Take me away. They walked past me as if they didn't see me, and they rushed to the body. We need to find who did this. This was brutal. Nothing works. I am a monster, a ravenous wolf who walks among blind lambs. The things I have done to break this spell, I wish I could undo everything. My conscience is dull though. I should care, but I don't. The wind blows over the deep hole in my soul. I can almost hear a whistle howling. I killed my father. Now I realize that the man at the Airbnb was right. I have faced my worst fear. It wasn't germs or even general uncleanliness. After I shoved my father's head in the oven on high heat, his body thrashing, his face showed the pure terror that I had seen that first night after I hurt my son. My fingers shake as I write this. I am not my father. I am much worse than he ever was. Patient 2, Susan Thompson. Day 1. I woke up feeling really heavy this morning. I had a bad dream again last night. I think it's the after effect of that weird experiment that I went to yesterday. There was something off with that place. I shouldn't have volunteered, but I can't blame myself for it. Being a primary school teacher doesn't pay much. Volunteering for that science experiment, I earned $1,000 in 12 hours. I was alright when I came home that night. It was pretty late, so I skipped dinner as usual and I went to bed. I wish I hadn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw myself trapped inside a huge glass box. I couldn't find a way out, and I'm sure that if I'm trapped inside that box for a few more minutes, I would have no oxygen to breathe. I tried to shout for help again, but nothing but air came out of my mouth. I felt helpless. I tried moving my hands, banging the glass wall, but again, nothing happened. It was a different level of anxiety. I felt like I was losing all of my senses. This has to be my imagination, but how I feel right now is real in my mind. Suddenly, I heard a loud noise and I wake up. It's 7 a.m. Day 2. I have to keep writing this journal. Things are getting crazier with each second. I am definitely hallucinating. Today, I saw a terrifying creature lurking in the corner of my classroom. I went to the teacher's washroom to splash some water in my face. When I opened my eyes, the water coming out of the tap was red. What the hell? I looked again and it was transparent. I looked at the mirror. I was shocked to see the monstrous creature behind my back. I looked back and it wasn't there. I looked in the mirror again and there it was, looking right into my eyes. What was happening? Is this what he meant when he said, "You will face your deepest fear"? I took the rest of the day off and I went home. I was exhausted, but I can't sleep. I am terrified of the suffocating feeling of being trapped and losing my own identity. It's just like when I was dating John. He was too clingy and needy. It was as if I was losing myself into that relationship. I always thought that I was better off alone. Whatever it is, I have to stay awake. I can't sleep. The creature is at my home. It's following me everywhere. Day 3. It's dark again. I haven't slept in 72 hours. My eyes are burning, but I have to type how I feel right now. I don't think I can do this anymore. I am losing my sanity. The creature is closer now. It was looking straight at me, waiting for me to go to sleep. And when I do, it will eat my flesh. I can see its insatiable hunger in its eyes. I am not going to close my eyes. Shit! That monster is in my bed. I might have closed my eyes for just a second. God, I don't think I'm going to make it. Now that it is closer, I see the shape of the creature. It looks like a wolf, but not a majestic one. It's thin with a lot of injuries on its body. There was flesh missing from its body like it had been scooped out. Every time that I'm taking my eyes off that monster, and I look at my laptop to type this journal, I feel like it's coming closer. Too close. I need to scare this thing away from me. I look around desperately to find something to protect me from the monster, and by mistake, I look at the mirror. There's a man behind me. It's John, with an axe in his hand. Patient 3, Shelby Smith. Day 1. After so many years of suffering, I think I finally have a chance of having a happy birthday. The study wasn't as difficult as anticipated. I love what they did with the mirror. In all my years of haunted houses, I've never seen anything like it. I'm excited at the prospect of looking forward to enjoying life, instead of being afraid of it. Also, they gave me enough money to afford a down payment on a better car. But first, I need to clean my house. I've been so busy that I haven't noticed how dusty it's become in here. My dog Rose has been sneezing like crazy. Day 2. I'm not feeling as well as I had hoped this morning. There's a weighted pain in my chest. Maybe I picked up something from one of the other subjects. That's the last thing I need right now. It's like, hey, you aren't afraid of getting older anymore. Congratulations. Now we're going to put that to the test and make you feel like death. My eyes are playing tricks on me as well. This morning, I walked by my mirror and I had to do a double take. My crimson hair was smattered with silver. The smiling crow's feet around my eyes were deep valleys, facial reactions to fond memories. I raised both my hands to my face. It still feels fine, smooth as a baby's ass in fact. However, the me in the mirror clutches at her face with gnarled fists. Liver-spotted hands grasp at paper-thin skin. Hands so broken and twisted that they aren't making fists at all. It's their natural state. Not knowing what else to do, I take my normal, straight and spot-free hands to try to wash the image away with water. Maybe I'm hypersensitive because of the exposure therapy. At any rate, I look fine now and there's a lot to do. My house smells musty as hell. It's turning my stomach. Day 3. Something's terribly wrong. I woke up to an aged bedroom. Yellowed wallpaper peeled at the corners and down the walls. Brittle bones creak with pain protests as I get out of bed. I call for Rosa, barely being able to hear my own voice. What is happening? In the corner of the room closest to my bedside table is a darkened heap. At first, I can't make out what it was, but upon closer inspection, I find the mummified corpse of Rosa. Every mirror in my house shows the same ancient image. Wrinkles plague my face. The heaviness in my chest is so much worse than it was yesterday. What did it do to me? I feel like a computer that's shutting down, one program at a time. Patient 4. Jason Holmes. Day 1. I'm sitting here staring at the page trying to think of the best way to explain to you how I feel. The one thing that immediately comes up is anger. I guess that's the best way to put it. I am pissed off about your messed up experiment. I know I agreed to it, but I expected a few small centipedes in a normal room. Instead, you locked me in a room of mirrors filled with centipedes, and they were not small. You must have found the biggest ones that you could, and you stuck them in there with me. I begged you to let me out and you ignored me. You said this would cure me of an irrational fear, but all I know is I curled up in that corner and I brushed those centipedes off me as best I could, until somebody came and got me, and I don't feel better. I feel messed up, but the only way I get my money now is to write this. Just what was with those mirrors? Was it so I could watch myself piss my pants? I certainly did not feel cured, only agitated and restless. I can still feel them crawling on me when I try to sleep. Day 2. It was a rough night and I'm still pissed off about everything, but now I think that something might be wrong. I should have never agreed to this shit. I went into the bathroom this morning, and as I brushed my teeth, I watched a centipede crawl out of my eye, taking my gosh dang eye with it as it crawled down my face. A hallucination for sure. My eye is fine, but later in the day, whenever I would look into that mirror, I would hear a voice. It sounds like the voice of my father, but he's been in prison for over 10 years now, and we have no contact. I don't know what he's saying. It's incoherent. Auditory hallucinations. I've just been ignoring them. You really messed me up here. Day 3. There's a centipede in the mirror. Yeah, in the mirror, not on it. It's not one that I can touch. It's like it's on the other side of a piece of glass. The ones that crawl on me in the mirror didn't scare me anymore. I can feel their legs skittering across my flesh, and they stop to take a bite out of me when they want. Maybe in some ways I am cured of my fear of centipedes. The one in the mirror though, it's different. It's been speaking to me in my father's voice, telling me to do things that I do not want to do. Things that landed my father in prison and ended my mother's life. I try not to look at it, but it's always there in the mirror just yelling at me, telling me that I need to take action against those who wronged me. I feel sick. I don't know how long I can deal with this thing yelling at me. Patient 5. Finn Martin. Day 1. I was asked to keep a close record of the days following my session with the doctor, but I found it difficult to keep track of the days once I got home. I remember that I was trying not to feel too optimistic, since I had tried several different kinds of therapy in the past, and they usually left me feeling more confident in my ability to conquer my fear of the dark. That, however, often proved incorrect, as I quickly slipped into my previous mental state. Soon it became clear that I had no cause for hesitation. I can't really say that I understood the curious treatment that I was put through. I was rather skeptical of it, but I was in no position to say no. I would gladly spend an afternoon of practicing breathing exercises in front of a mirror, no matter how silly I felt. All I wanted was to get rid of this crippling fear. I'm sure the other participants of the study have real issues to deal with, and that my fear of the dark pales in comparison. But my fear wasn't normal by any means. Lights out will leave me on the verge of hysteria, but the mere thought of the absence of light gives me anxiety. A dark corner, a shadowed passageway, the open door to the basement stairs, each step being swallowed by blackness, one by one, until nothing else is left. It has ruined my life. Once I came home and night fell, however, I could tell that I wasn't afraid anymore. I stared into the long shadows being cast in the corner of my room, and I took a deep breath. I felt no panic, no anxiety, not even the slightest hint of a tremor on the tips of my fingers. On the contrary, I felt an absolute peace, as if the absence of light not only didn't scare me, but also had become soothing. I was elated, and I told myself to pick up a pen and start writing down my report immediately, but I didn't. You see, the more I stared into the dark, the more I came to understand that the dark was looking back at me. Not a creature, not some spindly demon with red eyes and bad intentions. My imagination used to conjure up plenty of those to keep my company as I tried to fall asleep. I felt as if the darkness itself were looking at me, appraising me with a calculating stare. And though I knew I should have been terrified, I wasn't. Not because the darkness was kind. I could tell that it wasn't. Neither was it evil. It was simply inevitable, and I think that I came to accept that. Day 3. I don't understand why I'm not scared. Just 3 days ago, I would have shouted my lungs out at the mere sight of a flickering light. The harmless dark bore terrible demons within, and I reached out bony hands at night to grasp my ankles if I didn't have my bedside lamp on. They were slow but persistent, waiting for their chance to pull me away from the light and into their shark-like mouth. Dark corners hid, unspeakable terrors, and light was the only salvation. I had always been scared of the dark and the dangers that it concealed, but now I know better. Now I know the dark hides nothing. It's only seeking me, and I think it's beckoning me towards it, as if it wanted me to slip into the shadows. And I'm not afraid. Fear is supposed to be a natural reaction to this, isn't it? But I think the treatment worked very well, because I feel none of it. So, this is my one and only report, a testament to this treatment, a letter of gratitude. Once I am done, I don't think I will resist anymore. I think I've been running away from the dark for too long. It might be time to let it take me. Thank you for your help, Finn. Patient 6, Harley May. Your shitty little science project has ruined me, and I will never forgive you for it. You must be out of your mind letting anybody partake in this experiment. Do you even know what you're doing? Do you even know what you're putting people up against? Day 1. I was 100% on board with your cause. You told me that you could help me with my self-esteem, to help me accept who I was, to help me feel comfortable in my skin. I knew the experiment caused for exposure therapy, but to just lock me up in a room with a mirror in it was senselessly cruel. At first, I was panicked, but there was nothing I wanted more than to be rid of my insecurities, to be able to look at myself and feel like me. And so I sat down on the floor and I looked at the mirror from afar. I made sure that I was just far enough so as to not see my reflection. However, I had a sudden burst of indignation. Why shouldn't I look at myself? Maybe there's nothing wrong with me. Maybe the fact that there's nothing wrong with me is why I'm here. Maybe this is the first sane decision I've made all my life. And so hesitantly, I made my way to the mirror and I took a look at myself. And I suddenly liked what I saw. I couldn't look away. Day 2. I woke up in front of the mirror. I ate breakfast while looking at my reflection. Thanks for the stale donuts, by the way. I really appreciated that complimentary breakfast that you advertised. And halfway through the day, I decided that I didn't hate myself. In fact, quite the contrary. My perspective had been skewed my entire life, and suddenly, I was enjoying watching myself. I would smile into the mirror, make faces into the mirror. I wanted to see every movement that I made. I loved it. It was like some engrossing movie I couldn't look away from, except I was the star. I loved the way the lights on the ceiling shone in my eyes. I loved the way dimples formed in my cheeks when I smiled. It was like I was truly seeing all of me for the first time. The mirror made me never want to look away. It was surreal but comforting. At times, I could barely tell that it was me, the reflection, or the person looking at it. I was about to laud you as a genius. Until the next day. Day 3. I woke up looking at myself yet again. This time, however, I was not in the mirror. I was looking at myself looking into the mirror. When I stood up, I was watching myself stand up. When I walked around, I was watching myself walk around. My body turned to face the me that was looking at it, and I had a harsh derealization attack. It was like my perspective had changed to be outside my body. It hasn't stopped either. I have been stuck like this since your test. I watch myself do everything. Drive, cook, eat, and sleep. I am currently watching myself type this journal. Please get back to me ASAP. Am I just doomed to watch myself in third person for the rest of my life? If I'm not me, and I'm just watching me, am I still me? I don't even recognize the person that I'm looking at anymore. As you can see, the mirror did in fact do its job. The only problem was that their true fears were much more sinister and they were not ready to face them. I had anticipated this though, hence why the mirror was created. Humans lie. For most of them, by the third day, their subconscious got the better of them, and I am saddened to say, they could not adjust. I still visit some of them in the psychiatric hospital, or the jail cells that they now reside in, but unfortunately, they are far too gone to save. I am looking for 6 more subjects who will be open and honest with me about their fears, and who are ready to face them head on. Any takers?